Welcome to GangSheetPrints.com. This is a free tool that I created that will allow you to create your own gang sheets for DTF, UV, and sublimation printing. Once you've logged in, simply click the Gang Sheet Builder link on the main menu to get started. In this tutorial, I am going to show you how I go about creating leather patches. This will be UV printed patches that we end up taking into Lightburn to do print and cut. And in this video, I'm just going to show you how to get all the artwork set up for that. I've already uploaded this design, so I'm going to go select it under My Uploads. And it's this little image right here. When I import it in, it'll give me some information about the image, the overall pixel size, the DPI, its size in inches. And there's several different things I could do here. If I wanted to print a whole patch or a whole sheet of patches, I could just simply select Fill Sheet, and that would just create me one sheet of all these patches that would fit within a 12-inch by 24-inch sheet. For this tutorial though, and for this project, I only need 2 patches, so I'm going to change the quantity to 2. Really none of this matters up here other than I'm going to change my spacing to 0.10, a tenth of an inch. I'm going to be cutting directly on the blue outline of this patch. I'm not going to be adding any extra space for like a contour cut or padding on that. So if I was, I'd probably leave that at a quarter of an inch, but since I'm going to cut on the line, I'll use a tenth of an inch. I use the Print EXP software, and for the Leatherette, I like to print white down on top of the patch. Some may say that it's wasting ink. I find that it's easier to clean the patch if the whole surface is printed. So this is just a preference that I have. And with Print EXP, I like to embed the spot channels into my images. You can do that through Photoshop. I find it a little bit easier to do it through the website that I've created. I just want to make sure that image format is set to CMYK and that the output format is TIFF. That will give you the spot channels option. I'm just going to turn on the white spot channel. I'm going to use a -2 just so that the white stays within 2 pixels of the outside of that outline. I don't want it to bleed through. And then I'm going to turn on registration marks so that I can have those when I import this into Lightburn. I'll have those registration marks to be able to set up the print and cut features. Once I have that selected, I'll just click Create Gang Sheets. That's going to create a preview of that image, kind of gives you an estimated size. You can click the image to kind of get a preview of what that's going to look like. It's got my registration marks there. And now I'm just going to click on Download Full Color TIFF and download Black Silhouette. And what the Black Silhouette is used for, that's the file that I'm going to import into Lightburn. I'm going to trace it. That way that it'll give me the cut lines that I need and the registration marks, and I can get all that set up there. I'll switch over to Photoshop now, kind of show you what that looks like. All right, I've uploaded both of these images in Photoshop. This is the print file that it downloaded. You can see that it has one layer. Under channels, I've got my white spot channel that it created. If I turn the visibility off on that, you can see the actual image behind it. There is one bug that we have with the spot channels right now, and that is if you print it as is, you'll just get a solid white box. Even though the spot channel looks correct in Photoshop, there's something in Print EXP that's not reading the spot channel data the same. There is an easy fix. You just simply come up, hit File, Save As, and just save over the top of the file. You don't have to do any other changes to it or anything. Just simply save over it, and Print EXP will now read that correctly, and you'll be able to print your white and your color like you normally would. And the other image is just the Black Silhouette. It's just a single image, single layer image, and this is the one that we will actually import into Lightburn. We'll trace it, which will give us our cut lines and our registration points that we can set up print and cut for. I'll go over into Print EXP real quick and kind of go over those settings as well. All right, now I'm in Print EXP, and I'm going to simply import that image that I just created. And I like to come off about 1/4 of an inch to the left and 1/4 of an inch to up, just to get away from the edge of the material, just to give a little buffer room there. And then under spot channels, since I embedded the spot channel in the image, and this, whether you use our website or whether you're using Photoshop, if it's embedded in the image, you'll need to come under your spot color settings and make sure that the very first spot channel is set to spot. There's a whole lot of different options, but if you're using what's embedded in the image, you just want to select spot. For white, you want to make sure the input channel is 1. -30 for density increase is what works well for me. And you want to leave the bleed at 0, since we use -2 inside the software. I'm going to leave this at 0 so it doesn't affect the distance that the white gets printed. If I had chose to print varnish, I would simply come into the second drop-down box, select spot, and just make sure input channel is set to 2. And then you can change the other settings as needed. But since I'm only doing white, I'm going to leave that off. And then it's ready to print. And I like to print everything on 12 passes. And once you have everything set up, just click print, and your image should be printing with your white underbase, with color on top, ready to go. All right, now I'm in Lightburn, and I'm going to import that black silhouette image that we created, and then I'm going to trace it and get it set up, get everything set up for print and cut. So the first thing I want to do is go under File, Import, and then I want to select that image that I have. And these are always PNGs that I work with. Once that image is imported, I'm going to go under Tools, click Trace Image. I just use the default settings that come up on the Trace Image dialog. And then once it's traced, I'm just going to delete that main image, which is going to leave me the traced version, which is going to be the cut lines for my patches. The first thing I'll want to do is ungroup this. You'll see that everything that's traced is going to be grouped by default. And we need to ungroup that so that we can select those little registration circles individually. So I'll go under Arrange, Ungroup, and then I will go back and select each registration point individually. And I'm just going to click on the last little tool down there, which is 12, which is, for me, is set up to be my tool layer. And so if you go back here, you'll see that I've got a tool layer now. If I turn the visibility off on those, it just leaves the cut lines and vice versa. So I have those all separated out. And now I want to start the print and cut feature. So to do that, I'm going to select that first registration point. I'm going to go under Laser Tools, Print and Cut, Start Wizard, and it's going to bring up a dialog for me to set the first target position. To do this, I will need to go over to my laser, move my laser head directly over the matching registration point that was printed on my leatherette, and in very, very small movements, I want to get the laser directly over the smallest inner circle that I have. Once I do that, and by the way, I do not trust the red light pointer. If you have one of those on your laser, I will always pulse to see exactly where the laser is going to hit, so that it's absolutely perfectly in the center of that circle. If you don't, when you go to cut, your cuts can be out of line just a little bit. So I'm going to go manually over to my laser. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and maneuver the laser head over to that first target. And then once I do that, I'm going to go and click Set. I'm going to pause while I do that. And when I come back, we'll be on that next dialog screen. Now that I have the first registration point set, I need to move my laser head over to the second registration mark. So now I'm going to come back over to my board, and I'm going to select that second registration mark. And now I'm going to click Jog, which will end up moving the laser head to roughly that area, but then I'll still probably need to manually move the laser head like I did in the previous step to get it perfectly centered. Once it's perfectly centered, then I'm going to select, I'm going to press Set, to set the second registration mark. I'll be right back as I go do that again. All right, now that I have both registration marks set, the last step is for me is to choose if I want it to align the outputs to be scaled or no scaling. For me, I always choose scaled, just in case there's any discrepancy between what I brought in and what's actually, I guess, printed out. I've had the best results when I use scaled, so I will go and do that now. This is the last step in getting everything ready to go. And that's it. Your cut files and registration marks are all set, and all that's left to do now is to simply cut out your designs.